To the people of Texas and all Americans in the world, I am besieged. The enemy has demanded a surrender. Otherwise, the garrison are to be put to the sword. I shall never surrender or retreat. I call on you to come to our aid with all dispatch. Victory or death. His words made it out to the world. But who would answer the call? Inside the Alamo, William Barret Travis knows exactly what he is writing. There are maybe 150 men inside the Alamo walls. Outside them, 2,000 Mexican soldiers under Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. He receives reinforcements every day. The cannon bombardment hasn't stopped. Santa Anna has already hung a blood-red flag from the tower of San Fernando Cathedral. There would be no prisoners taken for this rebellion. On February 24th, 1836, Travis hands the letter to Albert Martin, a shopkeeper from nearby Gonzales. Martin somehow slips out of the Alamo, through the enemy lines, through a city under occupation, carrying a message Travis knows may not be answered. He reaches Gonzales the night of February 25th, and by morning, men begin to gather. At roughly the same time Travis's words reach Gonzales, they also connect with Colonel James Fannin, who is near the town of Goliad, with a few hundred men and artillery under his command. After some delay, Fannin and his men move out on the 26th for the journey to San Antonio, a distance of more than 90 miles. But his men barely have food to eat. Some of them are barefoot. His expedition to support the Alamo fails before it really begins. William Barret Travis's letters were copied, memorized, and spread, reaching small towns and colonies. But Texian forces were scattered across the territory, most of them too far away to reach the Alamo in time. That left the men of the Gonzales Ranging Company to make the ride. Men like their commanding officer, a 33-year-old hat maker from Pennsylvania named George Kimball, as well as Jacob Darst, Thomas Jackson, and Thomas Miller, members of the Old 18 who fired the first shots of the Revolution just months earlier. They knew what was waiting for them, but they rode anyway. The company then spends 2 days at Cibolo Creek looking for a seam in the Mexican lines. 2 days watching thousands of soldiers tighten the ring around a mission that already has no way out. They can hear the cannons boom and see stacks of smoke. Every hour they wait, they risk being discovered. But they refuse to turn back. At 3 in the morning on March 1st, they ride. They break for the mission gates at a gallop, through lines they cannot see, toward walls they cannot signal. In the chaos, the dark, the hooves, the shouting, one of the Gonzales riders takes a bullet from one of the Alamo sentries, who mistakes them for Mexican cavalry. Then the gates open. 32 men ride into the Alamo. The small force from Gonzales is the only relief to arrive before the final assault. But it changes very little. One of the men the 32 find inside is Almaron Dickinson, another of the Old 18 from Gonzales who stood in defiance of Santa Anna months earlier. His wife, Susanna, is inside the walls with him, along with their 15-month-old daughter, Angelina. In the final days, Susanna Dickinson remembers a moment in the courtyard. Travis draws a line in the dirt with his saber. Anyone who crosses it stays. Anyone who doesn't is free to leave. Every man crosses. On March 5th, day 12 of the siege, Santa Anna makes his decision. He's going to storm the Alamo. He doesn't have to. The walls are failing. No relief is coming. Time is on his side. Even his own officers question it. He orders the attack anyway. At 5:30 a.m. on March 6th, his army moves in from 4 directions. The Alamo defenders open fire and tear through the first wave. It slows them, but doesn't stop the advance for long. Soon, they're over the walls. Almaron Dickinson runs to Susanna. tells her the Mexican soldiers are inside, tells her to save their child. He kisses her and goes back to the battle. She would never see him alive again. The fighting moves inside, room to room, hand to hand. And in less than 90 minutes, it's over. Every Alamo defender is dead, including every one of the 32. Santa Anna has the bodies gathered. He makes Susanna walk through the Alamo to identify the men. One by one, she names the dead. Her husband, George Kimball, Albert Martin, the men from Gonzales she had known her entire adult life. He then has them stacked and burned. She, along with her daughter and a few others, is spared, not necessarily out of mercy. Before she is allowed to leave, the general gathers his forces for a short military review. He wants her to carry east exactly what she is seeing, an army that cannot be stopped. A warning to every town in Texas about what happens to anyone who takes up arms against him. Susanna Dickinson is not only a survivor, she is a message. And she carries that message back to Gonzales, past the homes of the men who rode out, past the families who watched them leave. 32 men answered a letter. This was Santa Anna's response. I've stood at the monument in Gonzales, a quiet mausoleum of granite and stone. It's a peaceful testament to 32 souls. Men with families waiting for them to return, waiting for a reunion that never happened. Lord John Dalberg Acton would write, "History is not a burden on the memory, but an illumination of the soul." And because these 32 answered a call, history would not remember them as simply blacksmiths, hat makers, and farmers. It would remember them as immortal